Once you're on your back, I would give you the option here of starting with your feet a little wider and letting your knees drop inward, or soles of the feet together and knees open, which is Supta Baddha Konasana. If you start in Supta Baddha Konasana here, soles of the feet together and knees open, you might want to put some pillows, blocks, blankets underneath your knees, so that's not too intense on the low back or the hip joints. Your other option here was feet a little wider on the floor and letting your knees drop in. So one's internal rotation and one is external rotation. Okay. Either arms by your sides with the palms faced up, or you can place your hands on your belly. Maybe one hand on the belly, one on the chest, rib cage area. And then let's just come to close the eyes. And we're just going to take about a minute here. So just letting the body relax for a moment. So as we move more into the focus, as we go through the practice, focus on what we're doing in our body over the next hour. Focusing on our breath. Just taking a moment, because whatever happened before we lay down on this mat, our minds kind of have to filter through all the actions and thoughts. If we looked at the news or social media or work. So giving a moment to let the clouds pass. Let all of that information, all that stimuli, have a moment to kind of surface into consciousness and then release out. So I was reading a little bit about all our stresses and what's going on, for us, and maybe the difficulty to continue on from day to day. And practices like yoga and other mindful practices, they're going to help that drawing in, that focusing inward. If nothing else, physically is helping to de-stress us on a chemical, on a hormonal level. So, calming the stress response in the body by focusing the mind and the body on a task. Here, just the breath. Feeling the surfaces of the body in contact with the floor. And when we can start to regulate our nervous system, then we're more available for taking in life. So giving yourself this time, this hour, a little break, you could call it, from all the happenings to regulate the nervous system, to take a moment of loving and compassion and kindness into our breath and into our body. And even just doing a little bit of this, a few minutes of this every day, a couple times a day, will help us tremendously. So let's come into the windshield wipers. We're going to let the knees just fall from side to side. And a body focus for today is going to be at L4-L5. So that's lumbar. The last two lumbar vertebrae, we're all probably pretty familiar with where that would be, even if we don't know a lot about anatomy. So right now, as you're rocking back and forth, your sacrum, which is part of your pelvis, you can feel it, and you're rocking off to the right of it and off to the left of it. Is that flat? It's not really flat, but we'll call it flat bone of the pelvis here that you're kind of rolling on and in and off of. Right above that is those last two vertebrae, L4 and L5. And bringing focus there, we're looking to bring relaxation there, breath and space. So as we move through this hour, see if we can keep attention to L4, L5, spaciousness around that area. This maybe kind of second chakra area. The element of that area is water. So thinking about flow and spaciousness around those last two vertebrae. Exercise-wise, poses-wise, we might do a lot of very familiar things. Bring the right knee into the chest and stretch the left leg down along the floor. And even so, using more familiar postures so that we can bring our attention into this focus of L4, L5, how we move in and out of the poses with a spaciousness around those two vertebrae. Okay? Switching your legs. Pressing down to the lower leg, flexing the foot. And what you know from practicing yoga about the alignment and engagement in the rest of the body, take it with you as we go through the practice. Release both legs down. Flex the feet, press out through the heels. Take your arms straight up to the sky. Feel your ribs on the ground. Feel your legs reaching out and extend the arms over your head. Only as far as you can keep your elbows straight, your fingers extended, your ribs on the floor. And you're just going to move the arms right back up towards the sky and then back over the head a few times back and forth. And just bring your attention to the lowest part of the spine, at L4, L5. As that energy goes down and out through the legs with stability and the float upward through the torso, the head, and the fingertips. And release your arms by your sides, rebend your legs, hug your knees into the chest. Head up, exhale, squeeze into a little ball. And release the feet back down. Okay, let's take the right leg crossed over the left. Scoot your hips to the right. Let your knees fall to the left, and if you need to, put a padding underneath the knees. Rooting down to the right shoulder. And as you just take your attention through the whole body, mind's eye connects. You want to feel every part of your body participating in the posture. Going into that L4, L5 awareness. Create a little bit of extra space there. See how it changes your experience of the posture. See what else shifts when you bring space to that lowest part of the spine. And lift up, inhaling and switching sides. So as you transition from in and out of the pose, continue with the same mindfulness and the same attention to breath. So we're on the other side. The left leg's crossed over, the knees fall to the right. Engaging the left shoulder into the floor. L4, L5 awareness. Offering space there. Inhaling back to the center. Again, hug the knees in towards the chest. And then take the knees towards the armpits so it's a little wider of a squeeze in. Okay, either roll to your side to sit up or rock a couple times until you're up and come to child's pose, sitting back to the heels. And the knees can be a little wider for opening your hips a little bit more, or your knees can be closer together in the child's pose to be more of a back stretch. Okay. And again, L4, L5 awareness. Take your breath right into there. Keep your awareness at that lowest part of the spine as you move yourself into table, cat-cow, rounding and arching through the spine. Again, as we pay attention, whole body is moving. There's attention, there's engagement, there's alignment in the body. And while that structure holds you, attention to L4, L5, feeling how that area is participating, finding the fluidity of that water element, the gentleness around there by more space. A little side to side, the ear and the hip. Squeeze towards the right and the left a couple times, back and forth. L4, L5 for the side body. And feeling that lowest part of the waist as you swing back and forth. And as you make circles, move around in all directions. Holding this intention. Connecting to the breath, reverse the circles. So when you stay really involved in the body here, the breath is going to be with you. Back to the child's pose. Cup the floor so your fingertips are on the ground. Your wrists and elbows are lifted. Armpits move into the back body. And come into Sphinx on the forearms. Extension back through the legs. Feel the heaviness of the legs as you pull the elbows back a little bit to open the chest. And as we add a little bit of head movement, dropping the chin to the chest, rolling the right ear to the right shoulder, left to the left shoulder. Just moving the head a little bit in those half circles. Can you tone the abdomen, drawing the navel in a bit more towards the spine? And move that breath into creating more space around those lumbar, those lowest vertebrae. Bring the head back to the center, drawing the chest forward. And windshield wiper, stack the hands underneath the forehead. Bend your knees. Let your feet fall right to left. Yeah, it's as if you could see the L4, L5. So see it in your mind's eye. It's the lowest part of the spine, right as the pelvis begins. And as you release that, come back up and let's take forearm plank. So you're going to come down on the forearms, interlace the hands, and then extend the legs back behind you. Gaze a little forward, either at the hands or in front of the hands. You can take a moment to kind of pump it by pushing the heels back a couple times, moving the weight forward and back, and then settle into a spot for just another few breaths. As you're drawing the navel in and up towards the spine, the length of the tailbone towards the heels, attention into lumbar vertebrae. And from that attention, Feel the extension down through the heels and the float up through the top of the head. Okay, and release the knees down and come back onto the hands into table. Extend the right leg back, lift the leg, the chest, the gaze, inhale, arching, and then exhale, knee and forehead together 3 times. Move slowly, as slow as you can, so that as we stay in that water element, you can feel, you can slow down a little bit so you can feel as if you're moving through water, feeling the resistance around the body as you move the leg and open the chest and the gaze. 3 times, and then 3 times on the other side. So when you're ready, switching sides, softening through the shoulders to make room. Opening and closing 3 times. Lumbar, lowest part of the spine, attention. How does the body lengthen, extend out from that point? After 3 on that side, child's pose. And in the child's pose, we'll bend the arms so that the palms are together. Your elbows are about shoulder width apart on the floor. Bring your hands behind the head at the base of the neck. In the child's pose. Squeeze your elbows a little bit more in towards each other. Try to bring the back side, the triceps down towards the floor. And then isometrically pull your elbows back towards your knees. That's small. Elbows trying to drag back towards the knees while you try to soften the back side of the arm towards the floor. While you hug your elbows in. And then let's lift up into plank pose, extending through your fingers. And in the push-up, extend out to the crown and back to the heels from that midpoint of L4-L5. And downward facing dog, lifting up, pedaling back and forth through your feet. Relaxing your jaw and your tongue. Downward facing dog. Again, bring the attention to the lowest part of the spine. And then feel the root down through the legs and the extension through the waist. The freedom in the neck. And the grounding of the knuckles and the finger pads. Let's take the feet up to the top of the mat to a standing forward fold. Bend your knees. You can grab opposite elbow and hang over your legs. Shake your head a little bit. Yes and no. Maybe even a little lion's breath here. Sticking the tongue out. So the lion's breath is like an audible exhale. As you open your mouth, stick your tongue out. Make a sound. Helps to relax the tongue, the jaw, the throat. Okay, bend your knees a lot. Push down with your feet. Spaciousness around the L4-L5 as you come up to stand. And as you stand in Tadasana for a moment, fix your clothing. Let's close the eyes in Tadasana, mountain pose. Imagine you have block between the thighs and the shins that you have to hug in as you widen through your feet, through your toes. Come into, again, L4-L5, lowest part of the low back. Use your breath to create room around that lumbar vertebrae and rooting downward and lifting upward through the energy of the body from that focal point. And again, all those little points of information that we know, that we're familiar with, of the alignment of the pose, start to kind of lock them in one at a time. Feeling both stability and lightness. Bringing the hands to the heart, Anjali Mudra. Press the hands into each other and squeeze the shoulder blades on the back now. And inhale, arms up to the sky. Keep hugging in with the legs. Okay, so lots of attention and space to L4, L5, either straight down to the forward fold, curling, rounding down, whatever feels good. To get yourself to the floor, wiggling down, shake your head no and yes again. And let's step the left leg back, bring the knee down, just on the fingertips, lean forward and open the chest. Straighten the back leg, high lunge on the fingertips, squeeze the legs in towards the midline. The squeezing of the legs in broadens the sacral area, so that's right around L4, L5. Add the twist, right arm to the sky, looking out or up. Shoulders on the back. From that midpoint, feel the extension down and the lightening up all the way out the head and the fingers. Release the hand, step it back to plank pose or one-legged plank. Lengthen through the crown. Again, keep that attention there as you bring yourself to the floor. Taking a low cobra or sphinx pose, again from that point of the lowest vertebrae, rooting through the legs and lengthening upward through the torso. Downward facing dog, exhale. Take another breath. Moving with intention, left foot forward, right knee down on the fingertips, open up the heart. And straighten the back leg. Take a moment. Squeeze your legs in towards the midline. From that lowest part of the spine, space to twist. Left arm up. So I'm staying on the right fingertips because I want to make my body hold me more. Find actions in the body instead of collapsing into that arm. And I'm finding the extension through the body, through the limbs, through the trunk, from that lowest part of the low back. Release the hand down, plank or one-legged plank, lengthen back. Through the crown of the head, lengthen as you slowly lower to the floor. Taking cobra or sphinx. And when you're ready, downward facing dog. From that midline of the body. Downward facing dog. Feet a little closer together. Lift your heels up and then lift your right leg up into the sky. In parallel, lift the inner thigh. Fill up that space of the L4, L5. Step it forward. Crescent lunge. Bring your hands up on the front thigh and then arms up. And again, just hanging out in the pose and finding how can you feel the root of the legs and the lightness through the torso and the arms from that lumbar area. How can you get those oppositions of energy going in the body to create more space around that lower back? And how the pose can grow from there. Some of us might even look up. Exhaling the hands down, how you get down. Mindful of space around those lumbar vertebrae. Take it back, plank pose. This time it's just a push-up. You can do it also on the knees. Lower and lift. And downward facing dog. Feet closer together. Space in the low back, left leg to the sky, parallel. Space in the low back as you step forward, crescent lunge. Space in the low back as you come up. especially, again, in and out of the pose. If we're tighter in that lumbar vertebrae, we'll get those little hitch ups in there, where it's like, right, as around a spot. So we're using, creating breath and spaciousness in the low waist to find freedom in the motion and to understand the opposites of the energy here, rooting down and lengthening up. 1, 2 more breaths, maybe look up. Again, how you come down with spaciousness around the lumbar vertebrae, plank, a push-up, down and up, downward facing dog. From that mid-waist, that low waist, open up. Look forward, come up to the top of the mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Hug in with your legs. Create more space in the lumbar vertebrae as you fold. Hug your legs in. Either roll up or press up, standing up one piece. Arms to the sky. And hands to the heart. Take your right leg into tree pose. So right foot above or below the knee. And either palms together at the heart or arms up to the sky. So I'm going to go for internal gaze. So even though my eyes are still open, they're in one spot, so that I can relax my eyes as if I could see inside my body. And I'm going to go to that root that we're working on today of the lowest vertebrae. I'm going to give it a little space by drawing down through the root of the leg. And it's a lightness with the breath, a float through the rib cage, through the fingertips, through the head. That does make my abdomen tone a little bit. So my navel kind of drew in a way of, not with a lot of tension, just a little bit of tone, to fill up the back body with more breath. Hands come to the heart. Release the knee forward and then switch the legs. Okay. So left foot below or above. Right away, the foot and the leg press into each other, right? Tailbone down, tone of the abdomen. And take the arms, either keeping the hands to the heart or reach up. Your shoulders can drop down your back. You don't have to reach from there. Feel the length and spaciousness on the sides of your body to extend your fingertips up. Hands to the heart, approaching the poses and the transitions from this lumbar vertebrae. Release the leg and bring the feet together. Utkatasana. So either feet hip width apart or bring your knees and feet together. Just make sure they do the same thing. Sit down and reach upward. Now this one's a really good one for feeling the L4-L5, because we can have a tendency to overarch here or even over tuck, and a little wiggle in the pelvis helps to soften in that lumbar vertebrae, so you can create the spaciousness there using just that tool, that awareness to find the position of the pelvis and the legs and the extension with lightness to the upper body. A couple breaths. Forward fold, exhale, release the head. Halfway up, hug in with your legs, float through those lower vertebrae, and fold. Okay, we're going to take the right leg back first this time, and bring the knee down, low lunge, hands on the thigh. Hug your legs in towards the midline, float the arms up. Bend the right arm so the hand is behind the head. Grab the elbow with the left hand. Some of you might have the bind behind the back. You can go into that as well. I'm hugging in with the legs. Once I create that space around those lower vertebrae, I can tune into the lower and upper body, responding to that spaciousness I'm creating there. Whether that's back bending or staying more upright, the body is just responding to your focus. Stretch the arms up, maybe look up. And again, spaciousness there as you come out of the pose. Straighten the back leg, side plank on the right hand. Step halfway back with the left foot. Go onto the outside of the right foot. Left arm to the sky. Stay here or stack the feet in the full position here of the Vashisthasana of stacked legs. Shoulder blades on the back. Extension down and up through the body from that lower waist. Release the hand down, take it back into Chaturanga, all the way down. Extend the arms out in front of you on your belly. Opposite arm and leg are going to lift up on your inhale. I don't care which side you start with. There's opposites, and then exhale, lower it down. From those lower vertebrae, reach and lift opposite sides. And exhale, lower. From the low waist, reach and lift. And exhale, lower. From the low waist, reach and lift. Exhale, lower. Good. Reversing Chaturanga or come up to table. Right from those lower vertebrae, lengthen and lift. Downward facing dog. Bring the right foot forward. And let's come into the low lunge, Anjaneyasana. Hands on the front thigh. Hug your legs in. So just suck in towards each other and float the arms up. So with a soft gaze again, so you have an internal gaze, or even closing the eyes in this pose, bring the awareness to lowest vertebrae of the back, spaciousness, and then let the body deepen and lengthen from there. Maybe the gaze goes up. I forgot the arms position, didn't I? Left hand goes to the base of the neck. Hold the elbow with the right hand or take the bind. Float the arms up. Again, with spaciousness in the back, bring the hand down. Let's come into half or full side plank. On the outside of the left foot, step halfway back with the right foot. You can do this on the forearm as well, or stack the feet. From the low waist, lengthen through the legs and through the upper body. As you release it back to plank pose, Chaturanga, lowering yourself all the way down. Okay, and stack the hands under the forehead. Okay, lifting up through the upper body, hands stay attached to the forehead. The elbows are out to the sides, the shoulders are down. And then add the lift of the legs. Again, can you do this from L4-L5? Spaciousness and attention there. And then the extension of the lower and the upper body from there. Cactus arms while you're there, so you release your hands out to the sides. And then reach the arms behind you, locust, Shalabhasana, hands by the hips, shoulder blades squeeze back, and release it down. Okay, through plank or through table, pressing up, downward facing dog. Left leg up into the air, open it up, stacking the hips, bend the top leg, heel to the hip. Tendency is to collapse or overly arch in those lower vertebrae. So here, draw the tailbone towards the pubic, to the pelvic floor, or tailbone towards pubic bone, to lengthen in the low back. Re-extend the leg, slowly parallel and bring it down and switch sides. So as we're switching sides, each of these things we're looking for, how do we add more tension, okay, where we don't need to, in the body in general, but right now, today, focusing on this lower waist, lower vertebrae. So noticing tendencies, because small little tensions, stresses that we cause in the body become bigger stresses in time. Re-extend and parallel, lower the foot. Look forward, step or hop to the top of the mat. Inhaling, hug in, Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen from the waist, unfold. Utkatasana, sitting back into the chair and reaching upwards. Utkatasana, chair pose or fierce pose. Spaciousness in that low waist. And up to stand, bring the hands to the heart. Okay, let's take the right leg in the 4. Sit into the hip stretch by sitting back into the chair again. With the right leg in the 4. Forearms to shin, hold on to a chair. Hands to the floor or to blocks. Just be light on the hands. Flex to the right foot and widen through your sitting bones. If you have balance here and you're down with your hands to the floor, hold the lower ankle. And again, if I take my attention and meditation into that L4-L5, how does the pose move from there? By creating more openness, more space, more breath. And especially as we transition, as you stand up with attention and switching sides. In and out of the pose is the pose. Left side into the 4, finding where you need to be for your body to maintain the spaciousness around L4, L5 and get yourself into a position. Either balancing, holding the lower ankle or forearms on the shin. There's also a big emotional center, right? Psoas in there. Lower organs, sense of survival. The space of the hara, or the lower dantian. Again, how you come out of the pose with awareness to L4, L5, standing up, and then separate the feet as wide as the mat. Turn your toes in just a little bit. Interlace the hands behind the back. Open the chest on your in-breath, and exhale, folding forward. With bent or straight legs, let go of your head. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. The jaw, relax it. How does the pose move from the L4, L5? Rooting down through the legs and the feet. And spaciousness through the rib cage, the whole rest of the spine, the shoulders, the head. Each breath, the pose grows. It lengthens, it evolves from that space of L4, L5. It goes deeper in the way of your attention, goes deeper. Yeah. Hands onto the hips, look up, push with your feet to stand up. Then bring your feet together. Okay, hands together. Swing those arms up, taking the sun salutation from the low waist. The body lengthens forward and down. Halfway up. And plank pose. Chaturanga. Cobra or upward facing dog from the low waist. The opposition, legs to torso to head. Downward facing dog. The right leg up into the air. Step the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Right foot to the outside of the right hand. Okay, and then you can lower your back knee if you need to. You can bring your forearms to the floor or onto some props. If if you need more height. And this one can be really challenging for the spaciousness in the back. So either the bent leg is straight or the knee is down. I'm going to hug my right leg into the side of the body. If it doesn't want to listen, I can give it a hug with my right arm to train it to squeeze in. And then I'm going to bring that attention to L4-L5 with the breath lengthening back, lengthening forward. So now the back knee is down and you're back up on the hands. Turn out the front foot and knee to take the twist, lunge here, looking over the right shoulder. Stay there or reach back and catch the foot with the right hand. Stay on the hand or come down onto the left forearm. Pin the heel to the hip and twist the body open. Gently releasing it. Bring yourself back to the middle with the right foot and then straighten the back leg. I'm going to have you just round the upper back and push the floor away so you can get the right foot off the floor, but keep the knee to the chest. So stay forward, tucking the knee into the chest, pushing the floor away, and then up and back, down dog split. Right leg up. And then release the leg down. Ground down through your feet. Left leg to the sky, inhale from that low back, stepping the foot to the outside of the hand on the left. Again, modify by either dropping the knee or use some support under the forearms to come down lower. If left leg doesn't listen, just hold on to it, squeeze it in to the side of the body. And so again, focus. L4-L5, extension of the posture from there. And back up onto the hands. The low lunge twist, lower the back knee, turn out the front leg, look over the shoulder to the left. When I draw the navel to the spine, that's in an effort to fill up the back body at L4-L5. So I don't sink in there, but I kind of fill it up like a little balloon. Okay, and then either grab the foot with the left hand or stay with the leg down. You can stay up in the hand, but if you have more flexibility, you come down onto the right forearm while still pinning the heel into the hip. Yeah, so I think about the whole back body, but here in particular, this lowest part of the spine, kind of, filling that up with that balloon. Fill up the air around there. And then see how the rest of the body responds. Gently release the leg. Bring that left foot back into the center and the hands on either side of it. You're going to round the back and push away to take the foot off, but stay forward. Tuck the knee in, round the back, push away. And then lift up, down dog split. And release the foot down. Downward facing dog for just a breath. And then lower your knees, child's pose. Okay, so while you're in child's pose, actually, let's take the side stretch of child's pose. So move your hands over to the left. Reach your right hand out further and lean the hips to the right heel. So in massage, sometimes I work on someone's head, and because we hold so much, that stress and tension in our head and thinking, if I massage the scalp and you as the client, as the receiver, over focus on your head while I'm working on it, the scalp actually tenses. So I often tell people to focus on their feet while I'm working on their head, and then the scalp relaxes. Okay, switch it to the other side. So here, if we focus on oh, I have tension in my shoulder, or I feel my hamstrings, right? And you over focus on a certain area like that, you might actually be causing more tension in the body. So here we take the focus to a different point, which is L4-L5. And then we watch, observe how the rest of the body, the limbs and the muscles respond with a little bit of a sense of relaxation by not over focusing or overthinking, that the body can then find freedom of motion where maybe we would have been stuck otherwise. Okay, bring it back to the middle. And let's set up for dolphin. So either interlace your hands or have your hands straight out from the elbows. Dolphin, lift your hips up, look back towards your legs, looks like downward dog, but on the forearms. Head is floating. So keep hugging the elbows towards each other, just enough action there to relax the upper trapezius. From L4-L5, where's the pose lengthen? How does the pose root? How does the pose find freedom and alignment? And as you lower your knees down, come into Virasana, so sitting up in between the feet. And if when you sit between the feet, that's too much on the knees or the feet, sit on the block or a couple blankets so you're higher with your hips. Hug your legs in towards each other. Okay, one hand on the low back and one hand on the low belly. Keep hugging the legs in and breathe into both hands here. Feel the spread of the toenails down into the floor. Okay, not forcing anything here with the breath into these hands, just feeling the spaciousness. Again, just like filling up a balloon, just creates a widening, a broadening in this area. So we're going to go back into dolphin. Some of you might go into headstand. Okay, so either A or B on the forearms or a tripod. If you have a different variation you want to work on for the arm position, go for it. Let's either take dolphin again or go into headstand. Okay, use a wall if you need it. Yeah? Hugging in your variation of headstand or come into dolphin, okay? And I want you to do the same kind of focus. Prop use in dolphin. That's a good question. For dolphin, you can use a block between the hands. And that starts to train your hands to not fall in and your elbows to pop out. So if you need that's really the prop that we have for dolphin, is to help support the arms by placing the block between the hands. Okay. So wherever you are in this pose, I want you to bring your breath, spaciousness to L4-L5 and feel the extension of the pose. So if you're in an inversion of headstand or variation of headstand, can you feel how you have to root down, but also you have to float up to find the balance and the ease to not create too much stress in the neck or the shoulders or the low back. Okay, let's give it another 5 to 10 breaths. Okay. Headstand or dolphin. When you come out of the pose, you want to find that same length still at L4-L5. You don't have to come straight down with the legs. Maybe they want to bend. Maybe they want to circle down. Come to child's pose with stacked fists underneath the forehead once you're there, or your forehead on the block. Okay, and as we come back to Virasana, sitting on the block or on the floor, hugging your legs in, we're going to take a little twist to the left and then to the right. Okay. And again, from the lowest part of the spine, rooting down to the pelvis and the awareness in the legs, creating a strong support, stable base for the float upward through the spine to receive the twist. And to the other side. So for those of us who particularly do have stress or chronic pain in the lumbar vertebrae, this is a really interesting way to start focusing on or changing the way we approach the low back. So this is something that, and I've been taking this with me all week, like when I'm sitting in the car and when I'm sitting eating or at the computer, when I feel stressed or don't feel stressed necessarily in my life, like in that moment, but can I bring attention to where is my lumbar spine right now? Am I creating a tension or a gripping there while I'm doing a movement? Okay, and so getting that spaciousness and breath into that area to see how everything else responds. Back to the center. Let's come out of this and extend, just pumping back one heel and then the other, just to release the knee and the foot. Okay, and then lying down on your back. And once you come down, let's take supported bridge or a bridge without support. So if you use support, it goes underneath on the sacrum, so below that L4-L5. If you're taking without support, walk your arms under. See if you can interlace your hands. Puff the chest. Reach through the knees and through the chest. Okay, so this is a way of practicing a tension in the body that then you can take with you into any poses, any practices, any yoga classes. Moving from the focal point of L4-L5, low waist, low back, with the root down through the lower body and the float through the upper body in response. Some of us may have Urdhva Dhanurasana wheel you can go into it, otherwise stay right here in bridge pose, and of course take breaks if you need to. Urdhva Dhanurasana is to come onto the hands underneath the shoulders. And for just a couple more breaths, working with your back bend. It's okay to let the heels lift up if you take Urdhva Dhanurasana. Relax your chin. Relax the back of the head. And whenever we're ready, let's come down and rest on our backs. Windshield wipers. Okay. Letting the knees fall from right to left. Yeah, so for like any meditation, we talk about this in the meditation classes, is giving the mind a focus. Yeah, and trying to keep it on that one pointed focus does help to relax a lot of the anxieties and our anxious nervous system vibration, right? Because you give your mind something to focus on. Okay. That creates just more spaciousness, more clarity for picking up the rest of the stuff through the day. Okay. Twisting, right leg crosses over the left. Again, as you scoot your hips to the right, maybe hook the foot this time. Drop the knees to the left. From the low waist, rooting down, lengthening up. Inhaling up into the other side. And as we wrap the foot, dropping the knees to the right, work the left shoulder down. Focus on the waist, the low waist. Just more space. Just fill it up with space. Inhale back to the center. Shavasana, releasing the legs out. Roll the shoulders under. Turn the palms up and come to close the eyes. And what can be useful even in this resting pose, it is still a pose, so there's still attention to where we are in space. Keeping a little attention still around L4-L5. And how the body still energetically is lengthening, rooting down and lengthening up, but without needing to use any effort. As if your breath began at your L4-L5, okay, and then just expanded outward to all of the points, the surfaces of your body from that point, and rest there for a couple minutes. Trungpa Rinpoche once asked a group of students, "What do you do when you get squeezed? What do you do when things are unbearable?" We all sat there wondering what to say. Then he called us on us one by one. Almost all of us said something to the effect that we just completely fell apart, forgot about practice altogether. It became totally habitual in our reactions. Needless to say, after that, we noticed very clearly what we did when we felt attacked, betrayed, or confused, when we found situations unbearable or unacceptable. We began to really notice what we did. Did we close down, or did we open up? Did we feel resentful and bitter, or did we soften? Did we become wiser or more stupid? As a result of our pain, did we know more about what it is to be human, or did we know less? Were we more critical of our world or more generous? Were we penetrated by the arrows, or did we turn them into flowers? Were we penetrated by the arrows, or did we turn them into flowers? When you're ready, taking your time to move to the right or the left, and then bringing yourself up. And when your hands come to the heart, to Anjali Mudra, sitting up nice and tall. And as you bow the chin in, thank yourself for your practice. May all beings in all worlds find happiness and peace. Namaste.